Keith.
We're back.
Yes, we are.
My God, this is amazing. I can't believe we've done, how many have we done so far?
We're rolling.
We really have. I think we've done like 120 of these.
Maybe.
Or maybe 12. What's one of the others? And hey, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about signs of a good wine list.
Signs of a good wine list. That's fantastic. Everyone wants to know.
Yes.
And, well, would you like to start?
I would love to start.
Well, that's fabulous.
I think I have a really good, easy peasy thing to remember that I've been telling my students for a long time.
Oh.
And I think it's a really good tell.
Oh, please.
Dry Riesling.
Oh.
If a restaurant has dry Riesling, preferably more than one, then they've got a pretty knowledgeable beverage director.
That's great. Yeah, it's also something that, because the sign of a bad wine list is that if they only have things that people like and they know they like.
Or, very names that you see everywhere, like Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc, A to Z Pinot Noir.
Kendall Jackson Chardonnay.
Of course.
Oh my God, yes. That's great. That's actually a very good, I actually would want to start with what not to worry about.
Oh, okay.
And that's pricing.
Ah, good point.
Everybody looks at a wine list and if you may look up the wines because you're curious, and you're going to find the prices are so much higher.
Sure.
And this bothers everybody. It bothers me. It's hard because it just happened to me recently. Yeah. And I saw a wine on the list, and I know the wine. Yeah. I knew the wine. We haven't used it at school. It was a Rioja Blanco, and I pick it up for $18 a bottle. Right. And on the list it was $55.
It's actually not bad.
It's not. I don't think people understand why that is, though.
Sure.
Why is it that you could buy it in one place for a third, a quarter of the price? Right. And that's because what they don't realize is that everything in restaurants are marked up exorbitantly. Well. Everything. Well, for instance, when I was a chef, food cost had to be around 20%. Okay. Meaning that food is marked up about 5 times the purchase. What
typical wine markup is 300%,
exactly,
right? That's kind of the standard. So 3 times the retail price is what you're going to pay.
And that's actually been changing. It's up to $400, $450 now in some places.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that. I didn't know that was becoming more the standard.
It is just because the real costs in a wine, what you're paying for is you're paying for that real estate because rental for downtown restaurant is crazy. Yeah. They may be paying $20,000 a month or more for rent a month.
And how much would you say wine sales comprise revenue for, your average restaurant?
That's actually hard because but for a wine centric, there aren't really, surprisingly not that good numbers. So I really can't answer that, but usually it's around for profit margin, so their profit, that might be 10% of profit, 15% of profit.
So it's significant.
It's significant, but the things that make a lot more profit are cocktails.
Oh,
a lot more.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because nobody's pricing it out. Yes. You don't, you don't price out that ounce of that ounce of vodka costs. Right. Your cocktail is $16. Sure. But
20 in New York now.
Yeah. But so people, you're not pricing that. Yeah. And those are usually 500-600% markups or higher. Yes. So that's where a lot of profit comes from the bar. Beer a little less than wine for percentage wise for profit, but you probably heard this. I mean, a really good restaurant that's lean and mean might make 3 to 5% profit every year. Right. So it's a very lean, and you're paying. So I just want to point out that folks should know that nobody's getting rich off of a wine list. It's really you're paying for rent, insurance, taxes.
So what's a acceptable markup for wine, in your opinion?
Anything up to 400%.
Okay.
That's it, flat out. If you see a 400% markup, that's pretty normal.
Okay.
Yeah, and once it's above that now.
Okay.
And it will. As real estate costs increase versus wine costs, yeah, you're gonna start, because you're paying for real estate. You're not paying for the wine.
Yeah.
You're paying for rent. And that's what you are, literally rent. That's how restaurants think of it. You're renting a seat. How much does it cost to rent that per hour? And that's how you figure out your costs.
Okay.
To be what you have to make to be profitable is how much you have to make per seat.
Okay. I love, you wanted to crunch the numbers.
Yes.
And that's great. That's really good information. Aside from the markup, what else would you say is a sign of a good wine list?
Okay, so ignoring price. So so don't worry about price.
Right.
And I think it's actually the uniqueness. I think a unifying vision of a specific sommelier it really shows, so that, and that may be just, it might be in a Greek restaurant, that you have a very deep dive into Greek, but also Macedonian wines.
Sure.
Or wines from Croatia, things in that same area.
Right.
Or jumping over, into Apulia. Like, if you're finding wines from the region or surrounding areas, or things that just seem counterintuitive, things that where they're focusing in on maybe natural wines, and you're seeing a lot of things or interest. I find that very, where you see, they're not trying to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Where there is no Napa cabs.
Sure.
And everything is weird and funky, and you may not know anything. And it's very, maybe confusing. There's a restaurant in Washington, D.C., Tail Up Goat, whose wine list is more of a allegory than anything. It's actually like a novel.
Wow.
And each description, it really doesn't make sense by itself. But you have to basically read the entire wine list to make sense of any of it.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. Pretentious, maybe, but I do think it's actually just a sign of a great mind at work.
Yeah.
And another thing, or like, or wines that where you look at the middle price points. I love it when you see the middle price points, really esoteric wines.
What would you say middle price point would be?
Well, you calculate you look at the lowest price wines and the highest price wines. And then whatever's in the center, what's the median price range. You look at that. And if you're seeing really interesting wines, they maybe wines, Roussins from France, or maybe even from Santa Barbara, like things like that, things you've never heard of. That's because that's the price range where I like to buy from. That tends to be where you see a lot of creativity.
Okay.
And that's actually, so if I see it there, then I'm gonna have more. That's a good sign for me of a really good wine list.
I have a couple little things that I find helpful that I've learned along the way. Speaking of price,
yes,
you never order the second least expensive wine. You've heard this, right?
Yes, I have also seen that video too. There is a whole skit. I forget what comedy troupe did it, but the second cheapest wine. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't aware of that, but it is the one that is the highest markup.
That's true. Yes.
So, and that's the one a lot of people who are maybe a little unfamiliar with wine, that's where they're going to go. Nobody wants to order the cheapest.
Right.
But the next cheapest seems like, well, it'll be slightly better. And really, it's not going to be appreciably different from the lowest price, but it will have the highest markup.
That is absolutely, because that's a known. But the opposite is true too.
What's that?
The most expensive 3 wines typically have very high margins too.
I actually thought that was not the case. No. I thought the best values on a wine list were at the higher end, because there's less turnover. So that's actually, if you're looking for good values, some of those, when you're getting into the $200, $300, they will be like a 200 to 250% markup as opposed to the standard 3.
That's true. That can be true. Okay. And oftentimes it's true, except for the very highest price point ones.
Really?
Because if you want to get a whale, a sucker.
Yeah.
Who just has more money.
Explain whale.
All right. A whale is somebody who has more money than sense.
Yes.
Who comes in and, sort of...
Restaurants love whales.
Yes.
If you get a lot of attention and a lot of love, you may be a whale. Just say.
I get a lot of love and attention.
You do.
I think it's because of my laugh.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm such a fanboy.
I think you like to eat and drink.
Yeah, I do.
People are happy about that, yes.
But no, because, so, and this is how I design a wine list, is that I'm going to have the most pretentious wines at top.
Okay.
And I'm going to have them...
You mean at the high end?
At the high end. Sure. At the very highest end, I'm going to have name brands, things that people know.
Okay. Yes.
Maybe it's Sassicaia.
Right.
But I'm going to put the price point so high that only an idiot would buy it.
Really?
Yes. Absolutely. Because a part of having those high-end wines on your dinner table you're signaling to everyone else that you're special, and I hate that. Like, and if you walk through a big, expensive steakhouse, you'll see everyone has very expensive Napa cabs on their table. You're signaling your status.
Sure.
So if someone needs to signal their status and they don't have enough sense, absolutely, am I going to make them pay for it?
Because they're not really price sensitive. It's not about the wine.
Yeah, and they don't care the taste. So it'll oftentimes be an off vintage or something that I got for, like for cheap for some reason.
Interesting.
I'll put that as the highest price bottle. So that, so everyone else will know that, like, oh,
wow,
more money than sense. So yeah, I stay away from that too.
Okay.
I will always try to stay in the, somewhere in the center, somewhere in that's the juicy center. That's actually where really the great wines tend to be on a good wine list.
So I love that you said you look for unique wines.
Yes.
And I think those big books, just the massive wine list, those are really relics of the past, right? Oh, if I see that, that to me just says, you really need some discernment. You really need to focus. I would like to just see a much smaller selection of really perfectly attuned wines to the food. Then, yes, the whole 10 pages of fine
Hallelujah.
Print. Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, too, because, I'm going to go back to, like, the basic nuts and bolts of running a restaurant.
Yeah.
I talked about rent, right? Per seat.
Yeah.
And that's because it's expensive to run. Every square foot is accounted for. So typically you don't have some fancy wine cellar.
Right.
You may see one, like if you're in a really fancy place, they might show you like under glass.
Yeah.
Well, that's not temperature controlled. If you can see it, that means it's not it's just.
You're telling me in Vegas?
Yes.
Those floor to ceiling. You're kidding me.
Yeah, and if they don't have that, it's just in a basement next. Like literally, when I was an executive chef, the wine closet, it was just a closet, was right next to the kitchen. Oh. It was like 80, 90 degrees in there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because, it shared a wall.
Oh, wow.
So, storage is very bad.
Yeah.
And so, no matter what you really want is fast turnover.
Okay.
So, having a small list means that those wines are moving in and out. No restaurant really has a long-term wine cellar anymore. That hasn't been the case for well over 50 years. So, because real estate is expensive.
Okay.
They don't. We run a wine school. We have an off-site wine cellar that's huge, but it's temperature controlled and it's meant for a school setting. Yeah. We don't do volume.
Right.
They have to do volume. You have to move. Always current vintages so that the wines aren't ruined.
Right.
And so you have to have a small. So if you have a very large wine list, chances are is that some of those wines haven't moved at all. They don't even have them in stock, or wrong vintages. It's hard to maintain those. I just stay away from that kind of. That is a relic of the past. I'm glad you brought that up because I steer far, far away from those. It can't be creative either. You have to have something manageable.
I think another relic from the past is the house red or house white.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of sad. That was a nice thing in Europe, and but we never really ended up being just jug wine here.
Oh, I'm not talking about. Yeah, I'm talking about in the U.S.
Oh yeah, I know.
If it says house red or house white.
Yeah.
that's just going to be something really generic.
Yes.
For the odd person who comes in and wants wine and not a martini or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, typically if you see anything in the carafe, that was in a box first.
Oh, yeah.
So
nice. Yeah.
just be wary. That's just not going to be a great, Yeah, no, and it's, and I always say, wine by the glass is typically, unless you're having like a glass of champagne, like that's a very high markup.
Wine by the glass, yes.
Very high markups. And that's actually a big profit center. Wine distributors, they fight for those spots. Because if you're in their wine by the glass program, you're going to be making a lot of money.
Okay.
So unless you want to finance other people's lifestyles, stay away from wine by the glass.
Yes.
Unless you're not planning on having a bottle. But I mean, honestly, why are you drinking if you're not drinking a bottle?
In most places, you can just put the cork or the sealer back on and take it home. There used to be a time where you couldn't do that. I think that's changed
a great deal.
Yeah. So you don't have to finish the bottle, but you should be able to finish most of the bottle if it's a good meal.
Yeah. Like maybe having a couple glasses of bubbly before and then having a bottle. Like that's totally.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a nice.
Yeah.
But that, and if as a rule of thumb, if you recognize the names on the wine list, it's probably not a good wine list. Especially good wine lists also don't carry things you can find in a local wine shop. They just don't.
Okay.
So that's one of those good signs.
Why is that?
Well, because those are just, if you find it in a local wine shop, that means it's a mass production wine. And what you want from a wine list is something that's unique and interesting and not a generic bottle. And also, any good sommelier will just steer away from anything just for the issue is that, the price, because it really ruins your meal when you realize you're overpaying for something. I mean, it really puts, a sour note to the day. And what you don't want, is to have that. You don't want to encourage that.
Yeah.
So, especially having Kendall Jackson Chardonnay and you're paying $60 for it and it only costs $15. Like that's going to make a sour, it's going to deflate the experience.
Sure.
And they're not going to listen to, they're not going to sit you down and listen to this podcast or this, saying this is why it costs more. It's rent. So stop complaining.
Right.
But these are all good. You gave some really good. I love the Riesling. That's an easy boom look.
What I want to say about that is Riesling has come to be known as the sommelier's best friend. It is such a perfect food wine. Low alcohol, not oak aged, very beautiful mineral and stone fruit aromas. And so it plays really, really well. You can have spicy food. You can have rich food. It's just very, very playful and beautiful. So if somebody's, aware of these things, then they're going to put that on the list. And that's a really good sign, I think.
You're right. Yeah, I think that's a great.
And it doesn't have to be from Germany. It could be Finger Lakes Riesling. But as long as it's dry, as long as you have at least one really good dry Riesling, I think, okay, I'm in a wine place.
Yeah. Eden Valley in Australia too. That's a great.
Oh, Eden Valley in Australia is amazing.
Those are so good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's that's a great tip. I think that's like the one thing you walk away like, look, okay, this is a great wine list.
It just is. It's straightforward.
Yeah.
Just remember that one thing.
Yeah. You see that, and you don't see anything you recognize. You don't see any name brands.
Yeah.
Then you might actually have a legit wine list on your hands. And there's all these other just tips we gave you, but those two I think are really good. Quick look.
Yeah, boom. I think we're gonna also have to talk about wine etiquette in a restaurant, ordering wine.
Oh yeah,
all of that kind of stuff, because there's a lot.
Oh, that's true.
Breaking down, we could do a deep dive breaking down the menu even further.
Yeah, let's do an episode. Yeah, let's book that. That sounds like a really good idea. All right, well, folks. Any recommendations for wine lists, bad wine lists, or any bad wine experiences you've had? Let us know in the comments. And otherwise, just like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.